Welcome back, everybody, to our third episode of this year's Itrad Fantasy Podcast. I'm here as your co-host, along with my other co-host, Edwin, aka Commissioner. And today we have a special guest with us, the owner and operator of Team Love Hurts. Welcome to the podcast, Kevin.
Thank you for having me. Excited to get started.
Just got a couple questions for you, Kevin. First being, at this point in the season, how are you feeling about your team thus far?
So far, I'm not gonna lie, I have high expectations for my team. So I did expect them to do better. I'm not gonna lie. Although I'm top 4 in scoring right now, still at 2-2. Couple disappointments so far through 4 weeks, such as Antonio Gibson and Kyle Pitts. Was expecting more from them, but on the other hand, I didn't expect Cooper Kupp to be number 1 wideout right now. So some hits, some misses so far, but hopefully they get going soon.
Where do you think you'll end up placing when playoffs come around?
Still a long season, but as long as I'm top 8, I am content with wherever I am.
So you think you'll be in the playoffs?
I do think I will be in the playoffs.
I'll jump in with a question. So Kev, you're the reigning champ, second ring if you want to count the one in 2016. Couple names in the league. Like, who do you see as your biggest obstacle to repeat as of right now? Still early in the year, long way to go.
Biggest obstacle. I'll give someone that's on top of the league right now and someone that's kind of in the middle. But I would say someone that's number 3 right now is Mike. I think he has the best wide receiver trio in the league. Although I personally think it's a running back led league, since there's not many that you could get. His running backs might come back to hurt him in the next couple of weeks. Don't know how much you could rely on James Robinson, although he has Elijah Mitchell now. We'll see where his receivers take him, but that's one. Other one, I think Nick has a slow start, but I think he could rise up when the time comes.
I like those answers. Yeah, spot on.
Kev, who do you think is your biggest concern on your team right now going forward?
Biggest concern has to be Julio. Knew he would be hurt. Didn't think it would be this early, this often. Don't know how AJ Brown is back before him, but yeah, he's been disappointing so far.
Tell me how you feel about your matchup with Castro as he's coming off his first win last week. He scored 166 points. He has, I guess you could say, the hottest waiver pickup of the year so far in Cordero Patterson, going up against the New York Jets.
Agreed. Definitely think he's been on the good end of waivers, I guess, being 1-3 right now. Got to pick up Cordero Patterson, got to pick up Elijah Mitchell, I guess, first week, and now got to pick up Damian Williams this week. That's 3 starters that he has picked up in the 3 of the 4 weeks. And then he scores, 166 last week. It's getting hot at the right time with being number 1 in waivers. Definitely potential for it to be a good matchup. I was more confident last week, although I didn't think Cordero Patterson would be looking like this. Now against the Jets, who knows what he'll do in London.
Ridiculous.
I like my chances, but I definitely think he's going to put up a fight.
Fair enough. Ed, you got any questions for Kevin right now?
You hit a bunch of good stuff. Pretty content.
Okay, here, let me look at your past matchups right now. Love Hurts. So you're coming off of a loss last week to Mike where we saw Tyreek Hill go off for, 50 points?
Yeah.
You still put up 132, so you can't really be upset about that. You got a win versus Black Sheep, a.k.a. Kenny, week prior to that, 142 to 132. I
Big
think
rivals.
I think Hurts made the push in garbage time to get you that win, correct?
Yeah.
Also coming off of a win versus Cardiac Kids, 150 to 125 victory, and then your first week you had a loss to Bad Vibes Forever. I think your team has been going up since trending upward since then. 108, 150, 142, yeah, 132. So your lowest scoring week was week one, which is a good sign. You know, your team's been trending up. Personally, I'm a fan of your team going forward. I think you got a lot of good pieces. Gibson had a little bit of a slow start, but any running back where you have the pleasure of him being really like the workhorse in that offense is always a good thing. Not everybody has that pleasure. Same thing with Eckler. Regarding Julio, that was your biggest concern on your team. I mean, he looks a little replaceable on your team to me. You got OBJ back. OBJ looked good. His quarterback sucked, but nothing he can do about that until Baker gets his arm right. But I think OBJ could definitely fill that wide receiver 2 spot on your team going forward, especially with how great Cup's been this year. Your team looks pretty all right to me. Kyle Pitts, rookie tight ends usually have a slow start, fantasy wise. So definitely once he gets into the swing of things later, I think he'll be fine. But I'm gonna ask you this question now regarding the league. Give me your who you feel is the best team right now, and who you think is the worst.
I could start off with the worst right off the bat. I actually, honestly, I have two, and it's like not even close from the rest. Diego and Julian. Don't the one for one, Diego. I don't think it's gonna improve because you know how Diego is with the league. He doesn't like trades. He loves staying with the team he's drafted. Probably most has like 15 transactions a year. If he doesn't make changes, it's gonna stay this way. And hopefully, I play him soon and prove. And he doesn't prove me wrong, but from the looks of it right now, it's not looking good for him. Let me go to his team real quick.
I think he was first in waivers last week and just didn't get Damian Williams.
And didn't get Damon
Didn't put in
Williams.
any claims.
The thing with Julian and Diego is what their last two in scoring, last two in points against.
Yeah. The bad combo.
Don't know. They're getting Mickey matchups and they're not taking advantage of it. Except Julian is, I guess. But if you have CMC as your as a player on your team, you cannot be like this.
At almost last in. No, is he last in points scored?
He isn't last. Yeah, it's really close. There's like a 3-point separation, I think.
CMC,
Yeah,
crazy.
That's what got Diego so far. I like his team coming in, but I guess AJ Brown and Allen Robinson has been huge disappointments.
Even
coming
Cook,
in,
too.
yeah, coming in, I like both of them. But I guess they didn't perform. Julian, just shit owner, shit team. Can't say enough about it. So those my worst. Best, I'm gonna go with Mike. That trio is unbeatable. When his running backs get him 10 points.
True that.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think. Have you made any trades so far this year, Kevin? I don't think so, right?
I have not.
No. Okay.
I'm evaluating player evaluations.
Fair enough. Ed, do you have anything to ask Kevin before?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it before when you were going through his lineup. How are you feeling about Kyle Pitts? Are we going to get that long-awaited breakout this week? Because if there's ever an opportunity, I think it's this week.
I agree with you. Against the Jets in prime time, I guess, since it's the only team playing at that time.
Sunday morning.
No Ridley, no Russell Gage. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
You need to put up a solid showing, or there's going to be concern, of course. But, yeah, he's still a rookie. I'm giving him some time. That's why I've been holding on to him.
Yeah.
And I think if he hits his stride, my team could he could definitely improve my team.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm hoping for it.
He could be a difference maker for sure.
Yeah, and to touch on my wide receiver too, I definitely think he has a potential if he fucking gets a good quarterback. He could have definitely had 20 plus points if his quarterback could hit him, but we'll see how that goes.
It's true.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, what brand shirt is that you're wearing?
Swagger goat.
What is it?
Swagger goat, because I'm the goat.
All right, well, that's it for questions from me. Ed, anything else you would like to ask Kevin?
No, I'm pretty good. I appreciate you coming on. Pleasure to have the reigning defending champ on here. Definitely puts the podcast on the map a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, answering our questions, giving out your comments, concerns, and everything. With that being said, you're welcome to stay as we go on to our other segments and put your 2 cents in on whatever you hear. If you have to leave, just you could log out whenever, but you are welcome to stay. And we're going to move into our power ranking segment now.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to go first. Starting at 11, I have the Diego Juniors. We just kind of touched on this topic before, but Diego is last place in the league. He is last in points. No, he's not. He's second to last in points for, while being second to last as well in points against. Not really a good sign. Means you're getting the easiest matchups in the league and you're still not winning games when you should. His team's been a little injured, I'm pretty sure, going back a couple weeks. He's been dealing with Josh Jacobs' injury. A.J. Brown was hurt last week. Dalvin Cook was hurt. And he didn't have Alexander Madison as his handcuff, which, I mean, I feel like Dalvin Cook misses at least like 4 games a year.
Yeah.
So, Ed, who do you have at your number 11?
So at my 11, I'm sure he'll have a strong opinion about this. Down 1 spot from last week, I got the Cardiac Kids. I mean, you can only cut them so much slack without, CMC. He lost by 4 points to Wilson last week. Wilson puts up 108 points and wins. Looking at his team, I mean, Damian Harris, he had Hubbard fill in for CMC. They combined for, I think, 13 points. So, I mean, that's terrible at running back. Terry McLaurin had a nice day. He's a pretty good option going forward. But then you look at the rest of this team and nothing whatsoever jumps off the page at you. His bench is, I mean, names like Samaje Perine, Tyler Conklin, Marlon Mack. Like, I don't know. Brandon Ayuk has been a huge bust. And without CMC, even with CMC, I just have too many concerns for this team going forward. And I have the pleasure of taking him on this week.
Yeah, at my 10th spot, well, I have Julian as well.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I didn't rank him last is because he has CMC going for him. I mean, CMC is missing this week, but just CMC really putting him at that number 10 spot for me. He is last in points for and last in points against, which is pretty horrible.
Sad.
He still got 2 wins while being last in points against and points for, so lucky for him. Not really something you want to see going forward. Eventually, these games are going to even out. Lucky to have those 2 wins. Like you said, his 2 matchups were he got a win versus Mas Nike in week 1. Castro put up 95 points. Then in week 2, he took a loss to Kevin. This was Julian's highest scoring week at 125. Kevin put up 150. Then he got another win versus Diego, who put up 94 points when Julian put up 116.
Right.
That's 2 wins Julian. The 2 wins Julian has are coming from opponents who failed to score 100 points. And then in week 4, like you said, he took a loss, putting up 104. Wilson put up 108. Not really the greatest outlook you want to see for excuse me, from going forward. Unfortunately for me, I have Julian next week when it looks like CMC's return will be coming.
Oof.
Yeah, that's really all I have to say about Julian's team going forward.
Yeah, we'll have to see. So at my number 10 spot, finally worked his way out of the last spot, up 1 spot from last week and from all my other rankings. Mas Nike, he broke onto the scene. Dropped 166 points last week, led all scoring teams. His waiver pickups are starting to come through. Cordell Patterson, game of his life, 35 points. Zeke looks really good. He had 100 yards and a touchdown, I'm pretty sure. Lamar's been okay. He had that big game against Kansas City, and he's been decent ever since. And then other than that, he's got two really good receivers going forward. Dallas Goedert's looking better than I thought he would, as maybe the top or second option in that Philly passing game. And even his bench, I mean, he's got some names like Corey Davis when he traded Mitchell. Now he has, who did he get from Mitchell? Robbie Anderson. Yeah, he's still got Waddle. So he's got decent depth. I'm still a little bit worried about him going forward, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as bad of a season for him as I thought it might be. So we'll have to keep our eye on him.
Moving on to number 9, I actually have bad vibes forever. Nick's team, I just feel like eventually that it might fizzle out a little bit. Kittle has not been looking great this year. He's been used primarily as a blocker in the 49ers offense. I'm trying to look at his team, but this kid doesn't set his fucking lineup, so it's
annoying with that.
Trying to analyze. But I think his QB this week will be Kirk Cousins. He's got Cousins, Lance, and Burrow. Got to see who he starts there. All three QBs, not really the most dependable quarterbacks. We saw Kirk Cousins was kind of on fire to start this season, and then they went out and just shit the bed versus the Browns last week. Trey Lance, young guy, in good hands with Kyle Shanahan. Fantasy-wise, though, he gets a halfway decent matchup. It might not go his favor. We know that they also love running the ball. So, and then Joe Burrow, Bengals offense has potential. O-line not really all there. We saw him kind of get fucked. What was it, last week? Or no, not last week. Week 2 versus Chicago, he only had 10 points.
Yeah.
So, playing against good defenses might be a little worrisome from him. He's got depth with backs. He's got Clyde Edwards and Najee, along with Will Carson's out right now. But I'm not even like the headache of just looking at his team out of order anymore.
Yeah. So let's see. Number 9, I have the Diego Juniors down 5 spots from last week. So yeah, coming into the year, everyone thought Diego's team looked pretty good on paper. Robinson, AJ Brown, Dalvin Cook, but he has not gotten off to the best start. He's sitting at 1-3 right now, pretty low in scoring. But the reason he's not at 10 or 11 is because I still actually have some optimism for this team. He's got Dalvin Cook. He's got Darrell Henderson. That's still a pretty good duo when healthy. I do think A.J. Brown and Allen Robinson are too good to perform this badly for the rest of the way. At some point, I think they're going to turn a corner. I mean, overall, if that's your core 4 players at both your running backs and both your receivers, I really don't see a scenario that you don't make the playoffs. He still has Tom Brady. He's having a pretty good season. He didn't look that great last week, but for the most part, he's going to have those 3, 4, even 5 touchdown games. And his bench is deeper than may kind of surprise you. He's got James Conner. He's got Josh Jacobs. Conner's been finding the end zone. Jacobs is starting to get healthy. So I actually think Diego can pull out of this, but we'll have to see because 1-3 is a tough hole to dig your way out of. 1-4 even worse.
I just realized the 2 lowest points for teams are the CMC and Dalvin Cook teams.
Damn, not a good look.
Interesting.
That's a good point.
Moving on, what did we? Number 8. Number 8, I actually have Masanike. I like Castro's team going forward. Lamar's looking really good. The only qualm about Lamar really was him having those multiple touchdown passing games, but his passing attack has been looking very nice as of late. Ezekiel Elliott has been looking great now at that number. What do you get him at? 8, right?
Yeah. It's kind of now.
Pick the Cowboys looking like they're going back to their old ways, being a team that's pounding the ball. Even with Tony Pollard getting a good amount of carries, Zeke's still that goal line back and has still been producing regardless. We'll see how long Cordell Patterson could keep his tear on. DeAndre Hopkins is in what looks like the best offense in the league right now.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, a little inconsistent, shaky guy at number 2, but I mean, as long as he could keep up the consistency based on top 3 players. Goddard's been looking nice. I think I saw a stat that said Goddard is like one of the most targeted tight ends in the red zone this season.
You can vouch, Kev?
Yes. He's been targeted a lot, yeah.
He's got Damian Williams at flex. Like we said before, he's been making use of his waiver pickups. Mm-hmm. So good for him. Always something good to see. He does have Tony Pollard on his bench too, just in case. I guess he ever gets hurt. His bench isn't bad. He's got a little bit of depth. He just traded for Robbie Anderson. He traded away Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bad trade. He already has 2 starters that he's probably not going to bench at running back. So I think Castro could dig himself out of this hole. This slow start he's had to the season.
Definitely. Let's see. Number 8, I have Bad Vibes Forever. So I have him a little bit higher than you did. I had him 8th last week. So I played Nick last week. He's 2-2 right now. Put up 116 last week. His team looks a little bit shaky. He's dealing with the Carson injury now. Clyde Edwards, surprisingly, looks like he's going to work his way out of the slow start. He had a couple big fumbles early in the year, but I'm pretty sure he has over 100 yards the last 2 weeks, so that's definitely promising. Diggs hasn't really hit his stride yet. I think this could be the week that Diggs reasserts himself as that wide receiver 1, really blows up. And Najee has been the biggest beneficiary of Big Ben's lack of an arm these days. I mean, I think it was 4th and long, and Big Ben throws a check down 2 feet in front of him just to get Najee another reception. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the 1 week, how many? 19 targets, I think. It was something like I've never seen before. So, I mean, the talent's definitely there on Nick's team. I think he is going to turn a corner at some point. George Kittle is too good to not find the end zone at some point. So I still have some hope for Nick going forward.
Moving on to number 7, I have Beer Pita's Tigers. I would have Sonny higher if Dave Montgomery did not suffer that injury. He's got what's looking like a front runner in MVP of the league in Kyler Murray. Barkley, we saw flashes of what he is capable of doing last week versus New Orleans. Sonny's running backs before Montgomery's injury were pretty deep. He's got Kareem Hunt, Barkley, and David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
We saw DK had a great night last night versus Jalen Ramsey, 2 touchdowns, 5 catches, 98 yards. Chenault has basically no contest Marvin Jones is in that wide receiver room, but Mark Andrews is looking good. Is got the Steelers defense who's looking a little shaky this year. So we'll see about that. But he's got Claypool on his bench. This is my only qualm with Sunday's team. I don't really like his bench. He's still rostering Deshaun Watson. Don't really know why. He's got Randall Cobb on his bench, who he'll probably never start. Josh Gordon, again, who probably won't ever start for him. Jarvis Landry, I love Jarvis as a player, but for fantasy, just kind of not the most dependable. Then he's got Chase Claypool, who I like. So I'm not really a fan of Sonny's bench, but I like his team going forward.
All right, with that, boys, I'm out.
Thanks for having me. All right, peace, Kev. Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
All right, he dipped. All right, so where were we? Number 7. So I'll talk about Sonny in a little bit, but I actually have Wilson here. Number 7, that's the same spot I had him last week. And, I mean, really, this week was not...
For a second, I'm going to get water. Just keep talking about it.
Okay. So, back to the point of Wilson. He won last week, not in very convincing fashion, 108 to 104 over Julian, but a win's a win in fantasy, so I'm sure he's not complaining. And going forward, I'm sure he's very happy about the usage of Robert Woods. Last night, he was targeted, it seemed like every play. He's got the stack with him and Matthew Stafford, so that's a really good wide receiver 1 and quarterback to have. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why Calvin Ridley is out this week. I know he didn't make the trip to London, but still going forward, he's the most targeted receiver in that passing game, so I don't have too many concerns for him. Mm-hmm. And then he's got 3 really good, usable running backs. No one necessarily blows you away, but Chase Edmonds, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, any one of those guys could go off for, 20, 30 points pretty easily, and their floors are pretty safe too, right around 10 points. So Wilson's got a really good team going forward, I think. Yeah, he's got Michael Thomas on his bench. So, I mean, if he ever pans out at receiver, who knows? He's got a low-key, pretty deep team.
Moving on to number 6. Number 6, I have Black Sheep, a.k.a. Kenny Elliott here. Kenny's team looking kind of nice. He's got Rodgers, Kamara, Leonard Fournette had a great game versus the Pats last week. He's got a good matchup versus the Dolphins this week. Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore, who's looking to finish as a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy this year. Lockett, he could give you that boom whenever. Kenny's bench is okay. He's got Brandon Cooks. Miles Sanders has made his way to Kenny's bench now. Not a bad decision. J.D. McKissick probably won't ever start for him. Colts D, and then he's got Logan Thomas, who's on IR. But Kenny's sitting at 2-2. Really can never tell what will happen, where this team will go, just because this kid clearly doesn't know anything about football, but finds a way to compete every year. Which, I mean, you have to give him credit at this point.
Very true, very true. So we're actually on the same page with Kenny. I also have him at number 6, up 3 spots from last week. He took down Diego 125 to 86, and his team, I mean, that receiver trio is definitely the forefront of his team. I think they're all top 10 receivers right now, which is pretty crazy. Lockett, Jefferson, and Moore. And then to go along with that, he's got Alvin Kamara, who hasn't really hit his stride as that top 5 running back in the league. So Kenny really screwed himself over reaching on Miles Sanders in that 3rd round because, I don't know, he could have done a lot better there. That team could be even better than it is right now. But sitting as it is, number 6 spot, not too bad. That's right about where he should be. He's got Leonard Fournette, like you said. He's going to step into that RB2 spot. And in that Tampa offense, I mean, as long as Giovanni Bernard's out, I think he's the preferred passing down back. He could get a lot of work. So
they clearly like Fournette more than Ronald Jones in that offense.
He gets thrown in the doghouse every week, it seems.
Moving on to my number 5 spot, I have Love Hurts, who just exited the call. Damn. I talked pretty thoroughly on Kevin's team before, so I won't really say much. But I like it going forward. Gibson and Eckler, 2 solid backs. I like Hurts. He's got a lot of potential in that offense for fantasy with his legs. Kupp been great so far. Pitts, I think, will start to hit his stride soon. So then he's got a quality bench going on as well. He's got Julio, OBJ, and Devontae Parker on his bench.
True, yeah. Very good team. I'll get to him in a little bit, but we're at number 5, right?
Yeah.
So actually, I got you at number 5, down 3 spots from last week. For what it's worth, you're the highest rated 1-3 team. I think you're a lot better than that record suggests.
Yeah, honestly, I thought I might have been a little further down. I'm surprised I'm at 5, to be honest.
You can't let the record dictate everything. I think you're still fairly high in scoring. I would bet top 5 still. You got that Dak and Cooper stack. Quarterback 1, wide receiver 1. That's really nice. Darren Waller, top 2 tight end in the league. Biggest blemish on your team is kind of like Kenny's, that RB2 spot. Myles Gaskin, 3 last week, just 3 net rushing yards.
I think he played 8 snaps total last week.
That's just really concerning.
Completely just thrown out of the game plan. After coming off of his best game of the season versus the Raiders, he had like 13 carries for 65 yards, and he had like almost 100 total yards from scrimmage. I don't know what happened.
I think he'll be better once Tua comes back. I just think that whole Dolphins offense will pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully when he gets back. But, I mean, other than that, you do have some depth at running back. You got Drake. You got Gainwell. You got Murray. I mean, you're pretty much just betting on someone to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Maybe Gainwell has some upside in PPR, catching a decent amount of passes. But, I mean, other than that, Mike Williams, I know he had a bad week last week. He still looks really good. Herbert loves throwing to him. He's going to find the end zone a lot this year. And I think the wins are going to start meeting up with your points for. They have to at some point. As long as you keep scoring, the wins will come.
I mean, I don't like to make excuses, but I'm sitting at 577 PA, which is highest and second highest being 535 or 541. Heaven. So I played my three losses. I came from the 1 and 2 teams in the league right now. I scored a fair amount of points. In
Yeah.
those trips, I put up 130 versus Guy, but he dropped 150, and that was a slow week from Cooper and Dak as well. I think that they only combined for I think Dak only had like 7 points or something that week.
Yeah, I remember that.
Then I played Sonny last week, who had like two.
He scored 150.
I think Barkley and Monty were like
right now, yeah.
Monty and Hunt all scored all finished as like top 10 backs in last week's scoring. So
yeah, tough draw.
Yeah, going forward, I like my schedule going forward though. After this, if I could get a win this week, I have Julian week 6, which I think I could get rattle off 3 wins in the next 4 games. Honestly, I'm just looking to hit 3 by week 6, and I'll be feeling good.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, 8 teams make the playoffs at the end of the day. There's a good chance that at least 1, maybe 2 teams under 500 make it. So the points for are definitely going to come in handy for that tiebreaker.
And then we are moving on to 4, right? Yeah, 4.
Yep.
My number 4, I have You Wish. I'm a big fan of Wilson's team. His DeAndre Swift has been looking good this season. I think he had a slow week last week, but Edmonds really safe RB2. Woods just had a great game yesterday. Myers has been Mac Jones' top weapon so far this season. I don't know how reliable he really is, though. Hawkinson's been looking nice. Chubb, always a great flex. I guess he's got my flex now to have. Broncos' defense has been great so far, right? Am I mistaken on that?
Yeah, no, they've been good. I think they had a down week against Baltimore, but other than that, they were killing it.
Yeah. They're number 3 ranked defense right now. Buckner, always a great kicker to have. He's got Ridley and Thomas on his bench right now, both injured, and Trey Sermon, even though Trey Sermon hasn't really seen a lot of action this year, but you never know with the 49ers. But I think Wilson's got a team that will consistently put up 120 a week going forward. So
definitely a safe floor. So I did these rankings. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I made them earlier. I didn't really take into account the David Montgomery injury for Sonny, but I have him at number 4, up 1 spot from last week. He took you down 136 to 85. So that was a big bounce back win for Sonny after losing to me. But obviously that loss of Montgomery is going to hurt. I'm not too worried about him because he does have Kareem Hunt, and he's looked really good, maybe even better than Chubb to start the season. So he's an easy fill-in at RB2 until Monty comes back. Like you mentioned, he's got the MVP frontrunner in Kyler Murray. He's every fantasy manager's dream with his rushing ability around the goal line. I mean, he's airing it out too. That Cardinals offense looks really, really good. And then DK last night, 2 touchdowns against Ramsey and that good Rams defense. So, I mean, Sonny's got those high upside plays with DK, Kyler, even Barkley. I mean, he got 30 last week. And then he's got some safe floor guys like Beasley and Andrew sprinkled in. And I think that's a good recipe for success going forward. I think Chenault will definitely take a step forward without Chark in the lineup. And I think Sonny's going to keep it rolling.
Moving on, number 3, I have Kearney Satriali's. Mike's team now with the acquirement of Elijah Mitchell seems like a more dependent RB2. Wilson had a little bit of a slow game last night, but you've got Adams and Tyreek Hill, who's shown last week. Tyreek had 50 points, so basically, if you get one of those weeks out of those 2, he's got his matchup in the bag.
Yeah.
He's also got Deebo Samuel, who's wide receiver 3 right now. And his team, his bench, has got Dawson Knox, who's been looking good, Naeem Hines. AJ Green just had a good week last week, and Kadarius Toney had a good week last week as well. Mike's got a really big boomer bust team going forward, but I mean, as we saw last week, that could pay out and win you your game. But yeah, Mike's team will go as far as running backs will take them, really.
True that. I agree with that. So my number 3, I still have Love Hurts. Didn't move him from last week despite losing to Mike. He lost 164 to 132. sitting at 2-2 right now. I think he's still well in the top 5 of points for. And I mean, we've spoken decent amount about his team, this podcast already, so I won't go too into it. His RB duo, I mean, Eckler looks a lot better than Gibson, but I mean, if Gibson ever hits his stride that people were kind of talking him up to in the preseason, then Kevin's team could really take off. He's got the wide receiver 1 right now, Cooper Kupp. And last night, despite not finding the end zone, I mean, if you want to call that a down game for him, I think he still had close to 20 points. Yeah. So he's a PPR machine. Stafford loves him, and he's always going to have a safe floor. And then Julio, if he ever gets healthy in that Titans offense, I think they're going to be playing from behind or not from in front a whole lot. So he could definitely still be a really, really good high upside wide receiver too. So I really like Kevin's team going forward. Definitely a contender.
Moving on to number 2, I have the New Jersey Sopranos. Just took the first loss last week to Castro. He's got the best stack in the league in Kelsey and Mahomes. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor finally found the end zone last week. We also saw last week that Jamar Chase can be kept out of the end zone. He had 13 points. I think that was his highest. What do you have? Yeah, six catches was the most he had so far this season. So if he could keep that kind of floor without getting touchdowns, he'll definitely be a great option for Guy. I think Godwin had a bad week last week, no?
Yeah, only 8.5.
8.5 for Godwin. Sutton, I think Sutton's been somewhat reliable this year for him. I think he's had a slow last 2 weeks. Actually, no, never mind. I stand corrected. Sutton has had only really one good game so far versus Jacksonville.
Yeah. And
with Judy coming back soon, his production will probably go down. But I think right now, going forward, Guy's team is pretty solid. I can't really drop him in the rankings unless he starts losing and not putting up numbers. So,
yeah, you pretty much hit everything. We're on the same page. I have Guy down 1 spot from last week. So he was the last undefeated team. Ran into an unforeseen buzzsaw with Castro, dropping 166 on him. Yeah. But, I mean, like you said, best stack in the league. Jonathan Taylor is going to play a really important spot for this team because he's not very deep at RB2. And his receivers, you really don't have anyone all that safe. Godwin, Chase, Sutton, they're all part of trios, if you will. You don't really know if they're going to be the top target each week. But with that comes a somewhat stable floor right around 10 points. So Guy's a really, really good team. And those weeks where Mahomes and Kelsey link up for those touchdowns, he's going to be pretty tough to beat.
Going to number 1, I have you at my number 1 spot right now. A lot of that has to do with what I saw from Henry last week. Henry, the Titans offense was missing Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, and Henry still – wait, hold on.
You want to know stats? I could probably rattle them off.
I just got a Wall Street Journal notification that the headline says, breaking news, John Gruden, head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, used a racist trope when describing the top NFL players executive in a 2011 email. Anyway, what I was saying about Derrick Henry, basically all the stars were out besides him in Titans offense, and he still found a way to get 157 yards. Granted, it was versus the Jets, but still, your top 2 wide receivers are out. He should not have had 157 yards, but Henry looks like I think he'll finish as the RB1 in fantasy this year. Josh Allen's been looking great. Mike Davis, safe RB2. CeeDee Lamb, I think he had a bad week last week, right?
Only 3 points, I think. Terrible.
Yeah. But he's been looking nice other than that. Deontay Johnson has been great so far. Only blemish really on your team is tight end, which, I mean, is a common one to have around the league. So
yeah, pretty much hit everything. I appreciate the high ranking. Hopefully we can keep it rolling. Hopefully this week isn't a trap game for Julian, because I know he would love more than anything to win, but we'll have to see. At my number 1, I actually have Mike with Satriali's up 5 spots from last week. I think he was the second highest scoring team last week, only behind Castro by a point or 2. But pretty much like you said with everything, that duo of Tyreek Hill and Devontae, I mean, Hill pretty much carried the load last week, 50 points. One of those guys each week is a pretty safe bet for at least 25. I mean, if you have both of them, there's a good chance one of them is going to pop off. And then Deebo Samuel has been the gem of Mike's late round picks. Like you said, wide receiver 3 right now. And it seems like he's the go-to guy in that San Francisco passing attack. So, I mean, if Ayuk ever steps it up, if Kittle ever starts playing like he should in the receiving game, then maybe he takes a little step back. But this team, exactly like you said, will go as far as his running backs take him. James Robinson is an RB1. He's looked okay. It looks like he's going to get the volume. But that Jacksonville team as a whole, I don't know how trustworthy they are. And then RB2, he just got Elijah Mitchell. Really, any back in that San Francisco system, no one's safe. Everyone gets hurt. So who really knows? But I still really like Mike's team going forward.
Yeah.
Definitely a contender.
That wraps up our power rankings. I'm going to do a quick little love-hate analysis. We just hit the 41-minute mark of the podcast, so it gets a little hard to upload to YouTube after it hits an hour. So quick. But start off my loves. I have Leonard Fournette versus Miami and Waddle versus Tampa Bay. Leonard Fournette's going up against one of the worst run defenses in the league in the Dolphins. Just came off a great week last week. Dolphins have not been able to stop the run one game this year. And then Waddle, I like his matchup versus Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay's secondary is like decimated right now. They got a 34-year-old Richard Sherman as their cornerback 1 right now. No way they put Sherman on Waddle. I think Carlton Davis is out. Sean Murphy-Bunting's out. I don't know who's really going to cover him, but he should have a big day.
Yeah, those are good ones. Kind of under the radar, too, with a guy like Waddle. I picked bigger names, if you will. So I got 3 running backs. I got Dalvin Cook going against Detroit this week. It just seems like a good bounce-back spot for him. He hasn't had the best start to the season, and it seems like Detroit's just going to act as every running back's get-right game. It was for Aaron Jones. It was for David Montgomery. I think it'll be the same for Dalvin Cook this week. And then I actually like both Browns backs versus the Chargers defense this week. So Chubb and Hunt. Chargers defense has not looked very good against the run this season. They've kind of been getting gashed here and there. So I think they both have the potential for maybe 20 points. Who knows? Because their passing attack is not very good.
That's it for your loves?
Yeah.
My hates, I have OBJ versus the Chargers and Josh Jacobs versus Chicago. OBJ versus the Chargers, we saw Chargers defense play very well against the pass versus Dallas. Asante Samuel Jr. shut down Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
He played really well versus him. Not only that, but also Baker is hurt. Not been playing good. I can't see him having a big day versus the Chargers. They got a really good defense going, whether it's the pressure or the secondary. Jarvis Landry's also out too, so there's not really a lot of threats to pay attention to in that passing game besides Odell Beckham. Josh Jacobs versus Chicago. Jacobs still looks a little banged up going against a stout Chicago front seven who's been good against the run this year. I really think he's going to have a good day.
Yeah, those are 2 good ones. So I picked Alvin Kamara versus Washington and Mike Evans versus Miami. Kamara has not been used to the same extent we've seen him used last year. I think Derrick Henry is currently projected to out-receive him. He has more targets, more catches. Pretty sure last week Kamara had no targets and no catches, and that's kind of been his bread and butter. This Washington front does not look great to start the year, but at some point you got to think those 4 first-rounders are going to start playing tough. I think the Saints are a little bit banged up in the trenches. So Kamara, I mean, I think he still had 120 rushing yards last week, which may have been a career high because normally he doesn't get as many carries. It's more split up with the catches and rushing attempts. But I'm kind of worried for the Saints as a whole on the road in Washington. And then Mike Evans versus Miami. Miami's secondary is still really good with Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. I don't know how much they're going to need Evans to have one of those big weeks. I think this is more of an AB and Godwin spot for him, and Leonard Fournette too, like you mentioned. So I'd be a little bit worried about Evans this week.
Yeah, that wraps it up for love hate. Going into our last segment, we got our pick'ems. I guess we'll start out with each other's games first. So
Sounds good.
versus Cardiac Kids. I have you winning as the lock this week. No CMC for Julian. He's got Derek Carr going against Chicago. Don't really like that matchup. I don't really see anyone on his team that's gonna go off for more than 20 points, maybe besides his wide receivers. But Cleveland defense has been good this year, so I don't know how great Keenan Allen will fare. And Terry McLaurin, I mean, he will get the lion's share of targets in that offense, but I don't know. I mean, he's kind of like a boomer bust for me this week.
I agree.
I like your matchups a lot better. Derrick Henry versus Jacksonville. Mike Davis versus the Jets. I think Josh Allen will have a great day or great night versus Kansas City on Sunday Night Football. I think they're definitely Buffalo's going to be looking for revenge. And with Chiefs being on a slow start this year, I think it's the perfect time for them.
True that.
So I got you actually as my lock of the week.
And number one on the power rankings. You love me this week. I appreciate it. So you play Nick this week. It's kind of hard to look at who he's going to start. We, of course, have an idea, but I'm just going to speak more to what I know, and that's your lineup. Even regardless, I still have you winning. I really like Thielen against Detroit. Seems like he's always scoring against them. The Bears can't cover anyone, really, tight ends especially, so Waller should definitely find the end zone again, probably have at least 20 points. Mike Williams against Cleveland. They have a good front seven. I think they're beatable in the secondary, though. I think Williams can find the end zone again, kind of get back on the right track after a down week last week. And then other than that, Aaron Jones looks like he's a little banged up, but Cincinnati's defense
actually just got improved from questionable to health.
Good. Well, he's got a good matchup with Cincinnati. Their defense has been kind of tough, but he still gets plenty of work in the receiving game. I think he'll have a big week. And yeah, overall, I don't have you as the lock or anything, but I got you winning pretty handily.
All right, so next matchup, this is my game of the week, actually. We have Fear Peters Tigers versus New Jersey Sopranos. Reason this is my game of the week, big game for Guy. I had doubts about his team going into the season. Then he went 3-0, picked up his first loss last week. I think he looks susceptible to a loss this week. I got Sonny winning this one. Jonathan Taylor versus Baltimore, not the best matchup for him. Baltimore's got a good run D. Michael Carter versus Atlanta, while Atlanta is a weak defense. I don't know how great I feel about starting a Jets running back. I can't remember the last time a Jets running back was like a great fantasy option. Le'Veon Bell, the latest, and he did not pan out at all. I think the last time Buffalo and Kansas City played in the regular season, Buffalo limited. Granted, it was a rainy day, I remember.
Yeah, it was a Thursday night game, I think.
Yeah. Buffalo limited the passing game. I had Tyreek. Tyreek only had like 5 points. And I'm pretty sure Kelsey had an average game as well. They were a very run-heavy game that day. Buffalo ended up losing, and I think the Chiefs will stick to that game plan going into this game. I think it will be a more run-heavy game plan for the Chiefs. I also like Sonny's matchups. Coming off of a hot week, I think Barkley could have another good game. I think Kyler Murray will also have another good game. I mean, DK already had 26 points, so.
Yeah. So you pretty much hit everything. I don't have this is the game of the week, but I actually have Sonny as the lock of the week, which I'm sure he'll really appreciate. He's a big listener of the podcast. He takes a lot of what we say to heart. It's a bit unfair, I guess, since we already saw DK drop 27 in a less than favorable matchup. But kind of like you said about guys' matchups, I don't really love them. Jonathan Taylor, Monday night against Baltimore, he's going to be relying on him to score X amount of points. I don't really see him going more than 15 to 20 on his best night. And then Mahomes and Kelsey, that Buffalo defense is really tough. They already have 2 shutouts this year. Granted, not against the best teams, but I mean, a shutout's a shutout. So they're going to be coming in there ready to go. And Yeah, I mean, Sonny's got good matchups. I like Beasley under the radar as a safe floor play as his flex. Buffalo should be passing a decent amount. And Laviska Shenault against that terrible, terrible Tennessee defense. He could really break onto the scene too. So maybe a bit of a surprising lock, but I have Sonny taking down the 3-1 Sopranos.
Next up, Love Hurts versus Masnike. I got Castro winning 2 in a row. This is my upset of the week. I got Castro winning this one. I like his team this week. Lamar, I think, will have a good game. Zeke, I think, will also have a good game. More so, I think the matchups for Kevin aren't great. Carolina defense, Hurts got to go up against. Eckler against Cleveland. Cleveland defense has been nice. Renfro going up against the Bears. Not that the Bears' passing defense has been amazing, but I think it will be more of a Darren Waller day.
Mm-hmm.
Pitts is the X factor in this matchup. If he shits the bed, I think Castro's definitely got this one.
Yeah. So we are on the exact same page. I also have this as the upset of the week. I got Masnike winning 2 in a row. I think Patterson keeps it rolling against the Jets. Zeke has looked really good, very explosive again. That Giants defense isn't that great. He should definitely find the end zone at least, maybe another 100 yards. DeAndre Hopkins has somewhat disappointed since week 1, but the 49ers pass defense is a little bit banged up, and I think Hopkins reminds us just how good he is this week. I mentioned Evans as a hate. I think he should still hopefully get around 10, 11, maybe 12 points, which wouldn't be the worst thing from your second receiver. And then, 1 second. Sorry, she's calling me. And then Damian Williams was a really good pickup that Castro probably shouldn't even have had because Diego had priority over him. So, Am I still muted?
Now you're good.
All right. Fuck everything I just said. Masnike with the upset.
Moving on, we got Kearney Satriales versus Diego Juniors. I'm gonna look past the Wilson 9-point performance, and I'm gonna give Mike the win for this week. I think Adams has a big day. I think Debo has a big day. I think Gesicki will also have a touchdown. AJ Brown, a little banged up, coming back versus Jacksonville. Looking at that, it looks like, oh, that's the matchup he wants. I don't think it will go that way, though. AJ Brown hasn't been too promising this year. Marquise Brown versus Indy. I feel like that'll be another boomer bust. Noah Fant, though, versus Pittsburgh, I don't think is a great matchup. Pittsburgh shut down Darren Waller earlier this season. And I think the quarterback screen will even out. I don't see a big day for Tom Brady. Not that it will be because of the Dolphins playing well. I think it'll be a run-heavy day for Tampa Bay.
Could be. So I actually have a different outcome, and I have this as the game of the week. I look at this game as Diego's season, kind of like on the line. He's got his back against the wall. You don't want to fall to 1-4. I mean, he's got decent enough matchups. He got 17 out of Henderson already. Wilson kind of underperformed, so that kind of provides the route for him to win with Wilson underperforming like that. But he's going to need Marquise Brown to boom rather than bust. He's not the most reliable guy just yet. AJ Brown, too, coming off a hamstring injury. Who knows if he's going to get, a full 4 quarters of work. And, I mean, Dalvin Cook, he's got to prove why he was the second overall pick. So I definitely see a route to victory for Diego, and I'm sure he's hoping the same thing, that he can pull it out versus a very tough opponent.
Lastly, we have You Wish versus Black Sheep. I'm not going to go against the Thursday Night Football grain on this one. I think Wilson wins it 30 from Woods already, 18 from Stafford. Lock it a little bit of an underperformance. I do like Fournette and Jefferson this week, but I also like Swift and Hawkinson. So I just kind of like Wilson's matchups a little bit better in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I got him winning.
For me, I'm going to I guess you said you're going with the grain or against the grain. I'm going to say that Kenny has a chance here. I don't know if this could be a segment or something, but I have comeback underlined as long as we're doing it on Friday. Yeah, I mean, he's got Jefferson versus Detroit. Miami is a terrible run defense for Fournette to go up against. He could definitely turn up. I had Kamara as one of my hates, but I mean, maybe he defies that and proves why he was still a top 5 pick. Wilson already has a really good floor of points with Woods scoring 29 and Stafford 19. So some guys just by default would have to underperform for Kenny to win, but I'm going to say that he pulls it out.
All right, and that wraps up this week's episode. If you're watching till this point, thank you for tuning in to episode 3 of the season. Wish everybody good luck this week, besides Nick. Hope your team does not do well. Hopefully no injuries. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in about another 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you guys. Best of luck to everyone. Let's have an injury-free week.
And